All right, you are live.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to open the session of the Planning Board for May 10, 2021, 7 p.m. via Zoom. Our members in attendance are Michael O'Connor.
Here.
Josh D'Angelo.
Here.
Leo Pisano.
Yeah.
Cheyenne Rangel.
Here.
Our alternates, Jim Tara.
Here.
And Philip Mastercola. And I'm Frederick Afaso, the chairman. Mr. Latanzi, would you read the disclaimer, please?
Thing. In response to Governor Baker's declaration of a public health emergency and related...
Excuse me.
Yes.
And we have Robin Stein of council here and Jean Vidakevich, our clerk. I'm sorry.
Quite all right. In response to Governor Baker's declaration of a public health emergency and the related emergency executive order dated March 12, 2020, the Everett Planning Board shall be meeting remotely until further notice. The audio conferencing application Zoom will be used for this purpose. An online link and telephone access number will be provided on all meeting agendas and also on the city's website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. This application will permit the public to access and participate in future board meetings and hearings. Instructions for joining meetings in this manner will be provided on the city and city clerk's websites. We extend our thanks for your understanding and participation in this matter, which is intended to keep members of the board and the public safe.
Thank you, Mr. Latanzi.
You're very welcome.
Can we have the first order of business, please?
Sure thing. The first order of business is under old business. It's agenda item number 1, which is a site plan review and special permit for 2nd and Vine Street. This is a proposal to demolish the existing structures on the premises located at 12 and 24 Vine Street and 337-349 2nd Street, Everett, Mass., and to construct a new 6-story building with 320 units, of which 16 units are proposed to be affordable, with approximately 4,000 square feet of ground floor retail space, along with a parking garage. The premises is bounded by 2nd Street, Boston Street, Vine Street, and 3rd Street, and is designated by the Assessor's Department as parcels numbers K05-000067, K05-000068, and K05-000176, and is located in the Commercial Triangle Economic Development District. This matter was continued from October 13th, 2020.
The representatives here this evening?
Mr. Chair, before we get started on this one, can I just remind the board that the voting members for this application are you, Mr. Chairman, Leo Pisano, Michael O'Connor, James Tarr, and Cheyenne Rangel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Schneider.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Johanna Schneider. I'm the project attorney. I'm here with John Block from the developer, Sean Kelly from our traffic consultant, Julio Guevara, and Tamara Roy from Stantec, our architects, and Steve Martorano from Bowler, our civil engineer. Since the last time we were before the board, we have been working with Mr. Latanzi and with council on finalizing our proposed decisions for site plan approval and also for our IP special permit. I believe that we have come to agreement, as to the form to be presented to the board. One issue I did want to raise to the board, however, is that we realized in the course of working on these decisions that there was a typo in our original application with respect to the number of electrical vehicle charging stations in our garage. Although it did go through peer review with Howard Stein Hudson at 5% EV ready on 5% EV spaces on day 1 at opening and 15% EV capacity down the road. Due to a typo in our application, it stated that there would be 150 EV spaces. We are therefore requesting that the board allow us to amend our application to reflect the correct peer-reviewed number, and that the findings and conditions, I believe it's finding number 3 in condition 46, be revised to reflect that correct number.
Is there any question of the board? Ms. Stein, is that acceptable?
That's a question for you folks, or maybe for Matt.
I can jump in. I did speak with Jay about that. You know, he understood that this very well could have been just an error in the application, and that having the 15% capacity would be suitable, especially considering the current landscape of electric vehicles. There simply aren't that many that would be used to have 15% of spaces upon opening. With the charging stations already installed, wouldn't be necessary. Having the capacity would be nice, and having 5% of the spaces for charging stations would be sufficient. So in short, that is we're okay with that.
Thank you. Any
And
other
members of
questions?
our team are here to the extent that the board has any questions. I know Matt and Robin are very familiar with the drafts we've been working on with them, but if there are any questions, our full project team is here to answer them.
Any further questions?
Do we have a final draft, Matt, for tonight?
So what
Let's see.
I circulated, when was it? Thursday or Friday? The draft with both the IZ and the special permit site plan review decision. So that should have gone out to everyone.
Yep.
Yeah. So that is not considered the final. That's the draft. The final would potentially incorporate with it that finding number 3 and condition. Joanna, I'm blanking on the condition, but the EV
46,
charging
I believe.
station.
I think it's 46.
Okay. So that would be one proposed amendment on the floor today. I don't know if there are any others, Joanna.
So I know that there have been some discussions over the last day with respect to condition number 28.
I think it's 27, Joanna,
Is it 27? My apologies. I know.
just so everyone can follow.
Yeah, it's 27. Thank you, Robin.
No problem. Matt, do you want to screen share this so folks that are watching can see it?
Sure. Do you want
Thank
the
you.
cleaned up version or the marked up?
Yeah, cleaned up is good. Thank you.
It might take a second. My computer's been quite slow. All right, so Joanna, is this the condition that you were referring to?
No, it should be 27.
27, Matt.
I apologize.
No
This
problem. I got it wrong too.
Okay.
Now, I understand, Matt and Robin, there have been some further discussions with Ty and Bond and with our civil team that have resulted in some additional proposed changes to this section. I don't think that they have been incorporated into what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, that's correct. So this is what is in front of everyone right now. This is the exact draft that was submitted to the planning board members for their consideration. The language, Joanna, that we have kind of gone back and forth on, it seemed to incorporate some language from maybe like a previous draft and then the current draft. But that said, the few suggested edits and then the final suggested edits that were agreed upon by Zach and your side, by Stephen and Zach, I believe, were the two working on it. I spoke with Julius today. He's totally okay with the changes. So Joanna, I don't know if you would like to read the condition as stated. And that way we can kind of incorporate that into the decision when we clean it up.
Sure. And Steve Martirano, I see you're out there. If I read this wrong, you need to stop me. But here's what I understand to be the final agreed language. The applicant will perform a sanitary sewer capacity analysis sufficient to demonstrate, in the opinion of the city engineer or designee, that there will be no downstream capacity issues created by the project. The analysis will include obtaining flow data within the existing 24 by 24 brick sewer during peak morning and afternoon hours for a 1-week duration. If it is determined that the existing system does not have available capacity to accept the project flows, the project shall be required to CCTV upstream mains, identify and eliminate existing sources of inflow and infiltration, I&I, to remove a minimum volume equal to or in excess of the project's new Title V flows to ensure there is no negative impact on the overall sanitary sewer system capacity. The city engineer or his designee shall determine the scope and extent of analysis and approve the design and extent of upgrades. Any infiltration flows removed from the sanitary sewer system as a result of these efforts will be credited toward the project required I&I mitigation, and if it does not cover the full I&I commitment, the remainder may be paid in lieu.
Got it.
Good.
Thank you.
Matt, is
And
that
that's
consistent?
going to replace what is there as 27 in its entirety, correct?
In its entirety, correct.
Yeah, with
Okay.
the exception of like the first sentence and last sentence, but it'd probably be easier to just
But-
replace the entirety.
No, I think it's the whole thing, Matt,
Okay.
Yes.
correct? Okay,
Yes, the entire paragraph is replaced.
okay.
And for the board, our city engineer and our peer reviewer are both on board with that.
Thank you. Any questions of the board?
Are we voting on the special permit for inclusionary zoning and the site plan review separate?
Yes.
I recommend separate votes. As to the question about the 15% as opposed to the 35, that's an update that'll need to be made to the findings of the IZ permit as well, for the record. So if that's acceptable to the board, there's a finding in the IZ permit about that will need to be updated as well.
Okay.
Matt, did you want to talk about the sketch plan issue on 37?
Yeah, so there was a condition number 37 that alludes to a sketch plan being submitted to the planning department, or in this case, the transportation planner or transportation department as it's going to be codified in the future. I spoke with Jay. He said that he has not yet received it, but he is okay with moving this project forward with the understanding that he would still be receiving this sketch and that he would need to issue his approval for the sketch prior to occupancy.
Matt, I think we were going to add to this, instead of the sketch plan being attached, that prior to construction,
Okay,
the applicant will work to develop the plan.
all right.
I just want to make sure that's acceptable to the, or at least that the applicant knows we're making that change.
That's acceptable. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to change that to just be prior to construction. And then,
Matt and Robin, we had sent a few comments into the IZ permit as well. I don't know if those made those into the final version. A lot of it was housekeeping, but the only substantive one in there was that we would be providing the affordable housing marketing plan prior to building permit being pulled, rather than prior to approval. So I don't know if that made it. I didn't see a version back from you, so I just wanted to see if that made its way in or not.
Matt, sorry, did you want to address that?
No, go ahead.
I mean, I believe we cleaned that up. I don't know if we can I don't want to confuse the board. If we maybe want to finish site plan and then we'll move on to IZ, we can always put the final IZ up on the screen for everyone to take a look at.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
just do one at a-
let's finish
just-
site plan first. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
just so we're not jumping around. So just back to 37, that last sentence then is gonna read, prior to construction, the applicant shall work with the planning and engineering departments to develop a plan to be approved by the planning and engineering departments, which may include, except, and then nothing else changed.
All right, thank you. Hearing no other questions or comments from anybody out there in Zoom?
I have one other quick item. I just want to finish typing this because I'm gonna end up probably cleaning this up and I want to make sure it's right. So just give me 1 second. I which over the plan to develop a plan for five. Okay. Matt, did you want to say anything on 54 or are you all set on that? Did you see my note about that?
Was that the one that we thought was carried over?
Yeah, let's just look at that real quick. So if it doesn't need to be in here, it can come out.
Yeah, so I'll read for the board. Condition 54 says the project site and the use thereof shall be in compliance with all conditions and requirements of the prior decisions, including the site plan approval issued for the project site and referenced in the findings of the facts above. Unless specifically and explicitly set forth herein, this decision does not alter any aspects of said prior decisions or relieve the applicant and owner from compliance therewith. This was kind of erroneously placed in there. It was from a different decision. It was from the 141, 151 Bow Street. So we would, as an administration, suggest taking that out.
That's obviously acceptable to us.
I figured we would just get it while we were noticing it. Okay, so then I think those are the only items that I had on my list to discuss with the board tonight. I don't know, Matt, if you have anything else.
I have nothing else, no.
Any other questions or comments? Anything in Zoom that we are aware of? Mr. Lattanzi?
None that I see. I'll give a few seconds because there are quite a bit of people in this call. So if anyone has anything to say, you can unmute yourself and our chairperson will recognize you. I see none.
Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion for favorable action for site plan review for Second and Vine Street, Everett, Massachusetts, with conditions.
Second the motion.
We'll just say consistent with the draft decision as
Okay.
amended by discussion this evening.
That sounds fine.
Thank you.
Motion has been made and seconded for site plan review approval for Second and Vine Street with the conditions that are presented to us this evening, and the conditions as well. Roll call vote.
Michael O'Connor?
Yes.
Hold on, Matt, it's Cheyenne.
Yep. It's Cheyenne, Michael, Jim.
Oh, sorry, it
Stephen,
is Michael. My apologies. Sorry, I had it wrong. I apologize.
I got this one right this time. I read
Sorry, that was my fault. Sorry.
it. Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangel,
Yes.
Jim Tar,
Yes.
Jim, you're mute. Sorry, you were muted.
Leo Pisano,
Yes,
Chairperson Cafaso.
Yes. Motion has passed. How about the IC?
All right, so for the next item there is the IZ. It's kind of incorporated in that same agenda item. Now, Robin, you had said,
You should have the clean one. I sent it over Friday, I think.
let me share my screen once again. Can everyone see my screen?
Mhm. Yep.
All right.
So I was just noting, if you go up to the findings, that if we change, which I believe we are, this references the 35% as well, so that would change to 15%.
Yep.
That was my only comment
Okay.
on this one. I don't know.
And then you would mention
And I think if you-
the fair housing marketing
Yep,
plan.
if you scroll down too, in there, you'll see as a condition, it says, oh, hold on. Condition 3, I think is what the applicant's talking about.
That's exactly right, Robin.
Yes, that's in. Thank you very much.
So this is incorporating the change or the modification that the applicant had requested. So I would ask the applicant, is this acceptable language? Is this what you were going for?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Listen, I am a beach person. I'm good with
Is the applicant identifiable, please?
Oh, I'm in.
That was John Block, the
Hi,
developer.
this is John Block.
Thank you. For our records, thank you.
And Michael, you don't know what,
Are we ready to proceed? Anybody out there in Zoom have any questions about?
if there's an umbrella.
And just to clarify again, because I write these, when we're talking about the 15%, that's approximately 65 spaces that we're going with?
They rent all that stuff, no? I would think-
That sounds correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. So that's the only change I had for this one based off the last draft.
Very good.
That's, yeah, whatever, you know what, Dawn? Everything.
Any questions out there? Anyone?
Stuff, but don't go too low.
Hearing none, Chair will entertain a
And
motion.
I don't even.
Make a motion for favorable action for inclusionary zoning with changes as discussed this evening for Second and Vine, Everett, Massachusetts.
Second motion.
Right.
A motion has been made and seconded for inclusionary zoning with the changes made this evening for approval
Yeah.
for the inclusionary zoning. Roll call vote.
Game for that, girl.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Yeah, relax.
Diane Rangel,
Yes.
Jim Tar,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
motion is passed.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
What do you think?
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Next order of business, please.
Next order of business, Mr. Chairperson, is item number 2 under old business. This is a site plan review for 48 Nickel Street, which is a proposal for the redevelopment, including the demolition of an existing single-family house and the construction of a new 3-story, 9-unit residential building on a parcel of land located at 48 Nickel Street. That being a parcel of land referenced by Assessor's Department as M0-08-000178. This matter was continued from April 12th, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Latanzi. Is the proponent here?
I do see him. Oh, there he is.
Yes, I am here. I'm just home.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr.
How's everyone doing tonight?
Very good, Mr. Antonelli.
Good, thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Just as a follow-up, I heard the summary of the, when I started my application on my, when you came up to my item that I wasn't on the video. So I asked last time to bring a sample of the siding, which I did. I dropped it off to Matt 10 days ago up at the City Hall Planning Department. I'm not sure if all the members have had a chance to see it or review it or comment on it. But that is,
If you drop the samples,
I'm sorry. No, yeah, we dropped the samples.
any questions of Mr. Antonelli? Anybody get a chance to see the samples?
Yes.
So,
Yep, fine.
Yeah.
And what's the reaction of the samples?
sample is approved. It was, I think it was a certain vinyl shakes that were being used, which is much better than the hardy board. So I don't know what the color is going to be, but we'll, I would approve the sample as.
Probably gonna be the gray tone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions of the Antonelli family?
Sorry.
Hearing none, the chair will entertain. Any questions out there in Zoom?
None that I see, Mr. Chair.
Before we just move to the motion, would you want to include a condition that the siding be consistent with the sample provided?
Well,
You said-
we should kind of get that squared away, Robin.
Yes.
The applications, as well as in other places, calls for the applicant to submit all samples and colors. So in the future, so we don't have to request it, it should come with the application or shortly thereafter. Okay, it's the way it's supposed to be. I see that in all the a lot of the statements that we read all the time, that applicants are supposed to submit samples of all the building products. So in this case here, we'll take it and just add it to the agenda and go from there with it.
And Matt, did you want to recommend any conditions, the usual conditions consistent with good building practices, keeping sidewalks clear, repairing damage, those types of items?
Yep, just the normal status quo kind of thing. That nothing special necessarily for this project.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
I'll leave that one to you to fill in then.
Okay.
Any questions, comments? Of anybody else? Nothing in Zoom? At this point in time, the chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion for favorable action for site plan review for 48 Nickel Street with conditions and the sample that was submitted for the exterior sheathing.
Second the motion.
A motion has been made and seconded for approval of 48 Nichols Street with the samples that were submitted for the sheathing and hopefully the color tones with the conditions that might come forward. Okay, roll call vote.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangle,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes,
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes. Motion is passed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonelli.
Thank you.
Next order of business, please.
Next order of business, Mr. Chairperson, is item number 3 under old business. This is an approval of an easement for 85 Boston Street. Per the approved site plan decision of 85 Boston Street dated February 23rd, 2021, specifically condition 19, subsection B, subsection IV or 4, the applicant seeks board approval for their easement granted to the city for a bike share station. This matter was continued from the last meeting, which was April 26th, 2021.
Thank you. Is the proponent here?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Spencer Stone. I'm from the law firm of Sullivan and Worcester. I'm joined tonight by Chris Legoski and Tammy Copson from the development team at Greystar for this project. This proposed easement would grant the city the right to install and maintain up to 15 bicycles for a bike sharing facility. As Matt mentioned, the site plan approval required the granting of this easement. The mechanics are that the developer is required to submit a draft of the easement for board approval in advance of construction, and the easement would then be finalized, signed, and recorded upon once construction is finalized. We're simply asked that the board approve the draft easement this evening.
the
Any
applicant,
question?
yeah, the applicant pays for the installation of the bike rack, correct?
No, I believe under the site plan approval, the installation would be at the expense of the city.
Is that right, Matt? I thought that
herself, so maybe she knows a little bit more on that one.
I
Robin?
thought that fell on the applicant. Maintain, instead, installation, maintenance, and maintenance of the site.
So I don't want to speak for Jay, and Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is this might be an older decision that predated the bike share program. And so it had a different condition than what we've been putting in more recently.
Which would be,
that the applicants are sponsoring the blue bike systems, as opposed to, in this case, providing the space for the system, which is the easement area. But again, that's my understanding, but I don't want to speak for Jay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I can just speak very quickly on that. The condition that reads right now is for B, for bicycles, IV, the applicant shall grant an easement to the city providing space for at least one bike share station to be compatible with the city's bike share program if and when the city initiates such a program. We have. Said easement shall include, without limitation, installation, public access, maintenance, and general liability in relation to said easement and said bike share station. So that's, I'll end the quote there. There's still more, but as I'm reading that, it would be that the city would be granted the easement, and then in exchange, we would be responsible for the installation, maintenance, and general liability to it.
We being the city.
We being the city.
Okay. We can't pass that off to them.
That is the condition that was already approved.
Okay, nope, nope, that's all right. That's all right. I just can't see Southern City work is down. Should have looked at it a little harder, but okay. I kind of read it the other way. My fault. I thought that the applicant had to maintain the whole site. I mean, why are we putting in a bike rack? This is only for general conversation. Putting in a bike rack for a business, and then we're going to clean up after the business. Who maintains the bikes? Who cleans up after? The city? Whatever. Okay.
Any other questions? Comments? Anybody out there in Zoom? Seeing none? What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion for favorable action on the approval of an easement for 85 Boston Street.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded for approval of an easement for 85 Boston Street. Roll call vote.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangel,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes. Motion has been granted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next order of business, please.
Next order of business, Mr. Chairman, is item number 1 under new business. This is an informal introduction and vote on peer review for 35 Garvey Street or Market Forge. The applicant will make a presentation regarding a proposal to construct a mixed-use property with 450 units of housing with retail. Planning board shall vote to determine a suitable amount of funds that the applicant shall provide for peer review.
Is the proponent here?
Yes, hi, Tammy Copson from Greystar. And I will just pull up the presentation on screen. But to the chairman and board members, we just want to say thank you for giving Greystar the time tonight to discuss and introduce this new proposed scheme for 35 Garvey, or more commonly known as the Market Forge site. Greystar truly believes in the city of Everett and the great potential in the submarket. And I think this is really evidenced by us breaking ground at 85 Boston in the forthcoming days, which should be June. So we're really excited to start construction and bring the incredible 650 unit project to life down there. So tonight we'd like to introduce to you the proposed kind of modified scheme for 35 Garvey. And the Greystar team is also joined by our consultants, which is TAT Architects, Bola Engineers, Bola Landscape Architects, and then Jen Schultz from Sullivan and Worcester, who's our attorney. And so at the end of this, they can answer any questions. And if you can just confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Great. So wanted to give you a little bit of history as we talk through it, but Capitol Hall put plans in place in about 2018. And then on October 2019, they presented the 591 units on the Market Forge site. What they proposed was 591 units, which was 5/2, housed in 2 buildings with about 118 parking garage spaces and then 117 podium park spaces, which was equal to 1,006 spaces. And then there was 7,400 square feet of retail on the ground floor. And it was also predicated on the addition of the marble site and a precast garage and phase construction. So this went into master plan special permit approval and received this approval in April 2020. It was also marketed by JLL last year, and Greystar has come in kind of with the knowledge of the submarket and construction. We re-engaged with Capitol Hall. We went back to the drawing board and we really wanted to figure out how we could make this work and do more development in Everett and execute on it. And so what we propose, and you'll see on the left-hand side of the page, so this was the previously approved scheme. On the left is 450 units, 6,500 square feet of retail on 2nd Street, a reduction from 1,006 parking spaces to 564 parking spaces, which is almost half the spaces, and a 30 to 39% reduction in traffic. We'll also look at reducing the building height, which I'll show you on the next slide. If this moves, there you go. Reducing the building height from 80 to, sorry, slow computer as well. And now it's going to go through the whole presentation for you. There we go. From 82 to 69, so reducing the height of it as well. And then maintaining all conditions under the current master plan special permit. And as well as that, holding the 2nd Street frontage, which you'll see here for the Silver Line. And so the next couple of slides, there's only about 4 or 5, are a brief walk around the building and what we envision the project to be as an introduction. And then we can answer any questions you may have and discuss the peer review. So this slide 1 is really a perspective down 2nd Street, and you'll notice that the changes that have been made is that the parking is a podium parking below the residential building. We have continued to allow a setback for the Silver Line Way, and then we've really worked with TAT architects to make sure there's still a rhythm and setbacks to massing to really create a pedestrian experience and a sense of place along, you know, a trafficked street. So these images below indicate what we're going to try achieve with the street and the 2nd Street, and really activate it with some great retail and amenities. This next slide, if we kind of zoom in a little bit more, is really how we're thinking of this pedestrian experience. We want to make it safe and accessible to pedestrians. So paired with the great retail experience, also making sure that it's very well landscaped and it has great space for pedestrians and visitors alike. Then as we continue to walk around the building onto Spring Street, we've kind of responded to the city's request for a ride share zone, which we intend to implement here. So your Uber and your Lyft drop-off zone. And in addition to this, we think that it's a great opportunity to really create kind of an activation area with kind of multi-generational play or with fun accents to take you around the side of the building. And as we continue around the building, what we really hope to bring is what we refer to as the Everett Bark Park, which is a public dog-friendly park of approximately 7,000 square feet that we'll be creating. And this we see as an opportunity to really bring the community together and bring their pets together, and be a point of social connection, which is open to the public. This last slide that I'll leave up with also some of the stats is what we foresee as a lot of project benefits. Inevitably, we are really downsizing the scale and the impact of the development. We are doing a single phase development as opposed to separate phases. We are, which we see as a benefit, is deleting, the freestanding garage. We are also doing major geotechnical and environmental undertakings to a site that obviously has lain dormant and polluted for decades. We see this, the reduction in units as well, as I mentioned at the beginning, as a real reduction in density, but also hence vehicular traffic and parking. And we, as I said, we aim to still maintain all the public improvements, the water and the drainage, the utility enhancements, the TMA program, and then the Silver Line lane. And most importantly, we'd like to aim for a near-term execution and project feasibility. And we think that already being, in Everett, we really understand how to execute this kind of product. Greystar does this kind of product around the US, and we would like to continue to move it along with the hopes of potentially breaking ground this year. And so with that, I will leave it on this page, and any questions, feel free, and myself and all of our consultants and team will answer.
So, Tammy, you've reduced the number of units by almost 150. Is that correct?
Yeah. From 591 units to 450 units.
Okay. Thank you.
And how many parking spaces were reduced?
Previously, there were 1,006 parking spaces. Our updated project proposal is 564.
Fortunately, there's a greater difference in the parking. Before you were almost 2 to 1. Now you're down to like 1 1/4 to 1. Correct, Tammy?
Yeah, we do. And we have a slightly different unit mix on this project as well. Very similar to 85 Boston. We also intend to have some studio units, which reaches that great kind of price point for attainable rents. So that's kind of the target market that we're aiming at, and that's what we see.
Okay, so
yeah,
Matt, we're going to get this is a whole new application then now. We're going to get a whole new set of prints, just as if the project just started.
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
The differentiating factor would be that a lot of the peer review information that we garnered through the Market Forge, or the original application, it can be used. It can't be copied, obviously, but we can kind of base. We can probably have a much quicker peer review process this time because they have already studied the area. It's the exact same area. It's just with fewer units and with fewer parking spots. So that, goes into both the traffic and engineering. I'm sorry, it goes into, the traffic, and it also goes into the civil engineering with the I&I stuff because it's the same idea. It's the same location. It's fewer units and it's fewer parking spots.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, it would be basically an entirely new application.
Okay.
So this was just informative this evening.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Today is the informal presentation, which was just presented and a vote for the peer review amount. And that way, once we kind of get that underway, we can have a true substantive meeting in the near future.
And Matt, or maybe through the chair to the applicant, there'll be a new IZ application as well, correct? I believe this one has an IZ special permit.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is Jennifer Schultz. I'm permitting counsel for Greystar on this matter. And I just wanted to ask a follow-up question, Matt, is whether, I just want to make sure I understand what's being said, whether this is a modification to the existing special permit in light of the fact that that was, just about 12 months ago, same site, same use, a lot of similarities, but for the reduction in all impacts across the board. And so that is how we originally approached this, thinking that this was a modification of the existing special permits for the site. And notably, and I think maybe favorably to the city, is what Tammy pointed out, that Greystar as the developer is willing to keep the commitment to all of the listed mitigation in the existing special permit, regardless of the reduction in the impacts across the board. And we have been thinking that that might best be approached through a modification, but I did want to make sure that we're talking apples to apples here and that I'm not misunderstanding.
Yeah, I guess in terms of a modification, they can have a minor or a major modification. The difference in process between a major modification and an entirely new application before the board almost mirrors each other entirely, with the difference of the major modification has an agreed upon and approved site plan to base off of. But we would be doing that anyway with the new application. It's in speaking with, and Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, did you have Attorney Delory as your counsel for this?
Yeah, previously, yeah.
Yeah, so in speaking with him, we just kind of decided it was almost semantics, the difference between the two, being a new application entirely versus a major modification, because it does go through pretty much the exact same process of having to renotice, having to do another public hearing. So, yeah.
And if I could, chime in though, I do think for this one, ultimately, Matt's right. I mean, the process won't be any different, but it is helpful to do it as a modification because you're going to retain all of those prior conditions and they'll be, already agreed upon before the board.
Right, and that's what we were thinking, and had in fact been thinking with our application. We might be able to include language to that effect regarding the conditions that are already agreed upon. And so to the extent that that is a more helpful approach, that just to let you know that is how we originally were thinking about this.
And Matt, do you remember, I believe there was traffic peer review. Do you know when this one was done? Was there civil peer review or was that handled in-house at the time?
I'm not 100% sure. I can check on that.
I think it might have been handled in-house at the time. I think Greg was.
I do believe that Greg was still around and he may have handled that at the time.
I think this was about April 2020.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Yes, I can, it's Steve Materano from Bowler. I can confirm because I was quarterbacking the civil at the time. It was handled by the former director, Greg St. Louis.
Okay.
In-house. Yep.
So there might be some outside peer review help that we need now, just given the current staffing in that position.
But similar to what has already been said a couple of times is the commitments that we made to the city back then are being incorporated into our design plans that'll be submitted. So we'll provide the full package, the full set of calculations, and it'll be very consistent with what we talked about with the former director of DPW. So, but however we want to handle that as part of the stormwater permit or otherwise, I think it's going to be a very consistent design and same conditions will be in the drawings from day one.
Thank you. Any questions of the board? Having none, the board would thank the applicant and see you down the road.
Great. Thank you for your time. And we look forward to speaking with you further.
I would advise that the board entertain a motion and take a vote on the peer review money to be set aside for a 53G account for these.
Fine. Chair will entertain a motion for.
How much they putting aside?
I think for large projects, we've done 25 in the past, but that is also coming from, kind of square one, whereas we're not end square one for this one. Robin, this is kind of outside both of our realms.
I mean, Again, yeah, I mean, I think you could probably take less with the understanding that if there was some kind of hiccup, you might need more, but I mean, if traffic has already largely been peer reviewed, it'd probably be an update, not a new peer review.
Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, and we already have a updated review of the new impacts from the same consultant, which we're ready to submit.
So at that point, to
Matt,
that,
what do you-
what should we say?
I'll make a motion for the applicant to put funds aside for peer review for 35 Garvey Street.
Not to exceed,
Well, how about,
Not to exceed, what we're gonna say, 25,000? That's why I was asking where we're going with it.
I think 15 would probably be safe. There's always the understanding that if more is required, that we would ask for more. And if we don't use it, then we return it. So I would say 15 would be a good baseline to start with.
So that the applicant sets aside $15,000 for peer review for 35 Garvey Street.
Second motion.
a motion has been made and seconded that the applicant for 35 Garvey Street set aside $15,000 for peer review. Roll call vote, please.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangel,
yes,
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes,
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes, motion is passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Okay.
Next order of business, please.
Next order of business, Mr. Chair, is item number 2 under new business. This is an application by Sullivan and Worcester LLP for endorsement of an approval not required A&R plan for 85 Boston Street. This is a proposal to subdivide an existing parcel, parcel 3, into Lot A and Parcel B to combine Lot A with an existing lot. Parcel B is not to be considered a buildable lot. Resulting Lot A will meet frontage and area requirements. Applicant therefore submits said proposal for a determination and endorsement that planning board approval under the subdivision control law is not required. Before I pass it off to Attorney Stone, I do want to mention he and I had spoken over the weekend and we spoke this morning or this afternoon with regard to this. I was mistaken in that I thought there was only one A&R. There's actually 2. So there are 2 separate A&R plans in front of the board for the same parcel. I've reviewed it with Julius O'Fury, our city engineer. He is completely on board with it. He's fine with it, thinks it's acceptable. So at this point, we turn it over to the board, or I guess just the board and Attorney Stone.
would we be voting for both A&Rs at the same time?
I would take it as 2 separate votes, but
Okay.
they would both be before you.
How do we indicate, how do we separate them? What do we call them?
The plans have different dates, if that's helpful. There's an April, I think it's 13th plan, and a May 5th plan.
Okay,
What the April 13th plan also is already endorsed by the City of Chelsea Planning Board because that addresses land that's.
okay, so we'll just call it April 13th and May 5th. Mr. Stone, is that okay?
That works for me, thank you.
Okay,
I've got April 15th as on my copy here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I may have written it down incorrectly in my notes. Actually, I think, let me see, I believe the plan in the legend in the lower right is dated April 13. I think it was signed by the surveyor on April 14th. Is the one I have here, and I believe was uploaded to the Google site.
All right, that's fine. We'll go by the 13th then.
fine.
Any questions? Having none? Anything in Zoom?
None that I see, Mr. Chair.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion for favorable action for A&R for 85 Boston Street dated April 13th.
Second motion.
Motion been made and seconded for approval of A&R for 85 Boston Street dated April 13, 2021. Roll call vote.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangel,
yes,
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
and Chairman Capazzo.
Yes. That motion is passed.
Very
Next
much.
motion.
Then we'll make a motion for favorable action for A&R for 85 Boston Street dated May 5th, 2021.
Second motion.
A motion has been made and seconded for approval for A&R for 85 Boston Street dated May 5th, 2021. Roll call vote.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangle,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
and Chairman Cafasso.
Yes. Motion is passed. Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business, please.
Next order of business, Mr. Chair, is item number 3 under new business. This is a site plan review for 106 Nichols Street, which is a proposal for an addition to the rear of an existing 3-story, 3-family brick building. The proposed addition is 3 stories high with parking on the ground level, 2 residential units on the 2nd floor, and 2 residential units on the 3rd floor. The additional 4 units being proposed would bring the property to a total of 7 residential units. The parcel of land located at 106 Nichols Street is referenced by Assessor's Department as M0-07-000087.
Thank you. Is the proponent here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Hi.
please.
Hi, my name is Beth McDougall and I am the architect for the owner. Is there a way that I share my screen, or Matt, you put up the drawings?
No, Beth, you can share your screen. If you're unable to do so, just let me know. I can make you a co-host.
Okay. I have 2 screens going, so how do I do this?
If you use your cursor to show that bottom tab on Zoom, it should say participants, chat, and then there's a green button that says share screen.
Okay.
So clicking that should bring
Okay.
up a command box. There we go. You're now sharing the screen and I can see the plans.
You can see it? Okay. Okay. So our proposal is this piece right here. This is the ground level and this is the first floor of the existing home. And you can see it's a brick home. And what we're proposing is to put 2 units on the back with stairs in the middle. And if you look at the ground level, there are 2 parking spaces here with 2 garage doors, 3 parking spaces here with 3 garage doors, and 2 parking spaces on the rear of the building. So there would be 7 units, 7 parking spaces. 5 of those parking spaces would be enclosed and 2 would be on the exterior. Each of the units, the 2nd and 3rd floor, are exactly the same. Each of the 2 units would have 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. 2 of the units are 850 square feet and 2 of the units are 960 square feet. So if you look at the next floor, that's the 3rd floor and the roof. And so what we've tried to do is, we'll get to some renderings, but as you see, we're keeping the same height in the back. So from the front on the street side, you can't really see it because you don't have a perspective. When you drive down when you're facing the building and you drive, the existing driveway is on the right-hand side and you drive down behind the building, then you would have the new proposed units and the garage doors. Now let me see if I can, give me 1 second. Let me get the renderings. I'm sorry. This should be the one we submitted. Okay, so that's the front. Oh, you can't see that, can you? Hold on.
No.
All right, sorry. I'm working the 2 screens, so it's a little tricky. So this is the first rendering. This is from the front. We, made it look a lot nicer with the nice fence and everything, but that's the existing building as it sits. Okay, let me get the other one. 1 second. And this is from the side. So we're keeping, this was rendered a little bit higher, but the height of this will be the same height as the existing roof. We will put a cricket in here so that we don't have the ice or anything coming from the existing roof to the new, and making it as mitigating the size, but also making it as nice as we can with regards to the materials and such. And so as Matt said, there's 2 units on the 3rd floor, 2 units on the 2nd floor, and then the parking, and then the two car parking in the rear. We have, the side yard setbacks, we have those, we have the rear yard setback, and then again, the front yard setback is existing. So I will open it up for questions.
How do you enter your garages?
The garage door right here.
Yes, in the rear
I'm sorry, what?
and into the rear. How do you enter them?
Oh, the garage door goes up.
Really? No. How do you get into the land?
Oh, right here. There's a driveway. There's an existing driveway on the right-hand side. So let me go to the other rendering. Hold on. I'm sorry. Nope. There's a driveway right here. That's an existing driveway. So you would drive in. It's 12 feet wide. You drive in and then you would pull in the back. I can put them side by side. So you would drive in right here, and then that's this piece right here, and then you would pull into the to the parking area.
So is that driveway just your driveway?
Yes, that's just our driveway. It's not a shared driveway.
Okay.
Not a right-of-way driveway?
No, no. I can find, I could pull up the site plan. 1 second. So let me make this smaller. So this is the existing site plan. This is the house. This is our proposed addition, and there's an old garage in the back that's kind of fallen apart. That will be removed. But this is our driveway.
Did the abutters use that driveway to your right?
No.
No?
No. Let me go back to a rendering here. This house right here has a driveway on the other side. This is just the driveway for this property.
Okay.
Excuse me, what is the radius that's required to turn into those garage doors?
You have to have at least 12 feet, and we have the 12 feet and a little more. I mean, your minimum radius is about 10 or 11 feet, but we have 12. We don't usually design anything less than 12.
Thank you.
We didn't get a lot of, the packet that we were handed didn't have a lot of details to it.
With regards to,
I mean, the application wasn't laid out as far as site plan review requirements.
We filled out the application. We've submitted with the design narrative. We have the site plan. We also have a landscape plan, and let me just pull up the package of exactly what we submitted. Go back to here. So this is our package that we did. I just scanned the whole thing in. So we filled out the forms. We also have we had a landscape architect do a landscape plan to show the driveway. These are the bay windows, the landscape plantings that we're proposing around the area and the fences.
We don't have any elevation drawings. We don't have any products that you're using on the building. We don't have anything from the departments yet, do we, Matt?
I did send out to all the department heads this package along with the next two. The only comment that I've received back was from fire saying they all look good.
And the fire says that that little driveway of 12 feet is adequate.
That is what I was told.
Well, I would find that,
It may, let me double check to make sure that wasn't the police. It was one of the two departments, but
yeah, I can't
give me
see the
one
fire.
second.
It's supposed to be 20 feet.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah.
But while I wait, by all means,
Okay.
continue.
So,
We'll talk amongst ourselves.
okay, so with regards to the materials and such, we can certainly get you all of the materials for the building. We have them in the office. We have samples. I could drop off all the samples and everything like that to Matt.
No, I mean, I don't know if you're using brick, hardy board. I don't want, we always have a problem with hardy board. And the previous applicant, a few ago, Mr. Greg Antonelli, he finally went over to more of a shakes with a plastic certainty product that gave the building a little life versus the flat look of hardy board.
So we've been using a product called Michiha, and it's made out of Georgia. It's they have a lot of different options. They have shiplaps, they have clapboards, they have all different things. It's the idea of a hardy board, but it's a different material because the hardy board seems to have a spalling problem. It gets wet and it spalls. And the installation of the hardy board, whenever you cut it, you're supposed to seal the edges, but that never happens. And that's why it just kind of disintegrates.
Correct.
This other product that we have found comes in all kinds of options and colors. So I can, like I said, we've got multiple samples at the office. We can certainly drop them off. We're trying to do a product that is, low maintenance for the owner and also looks, very nice, but not none of this crazy stuff that will go out of favor or out of fashion in a couple years. It'll fit in the neighborhood. It'll be very contextual and long lasting.
Okay, yeah, I would like to see those samples.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I just very quickly, I was mistaken. It was Chief Mazie who replied back that he had no issue.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, before you do move on, if there are no questions from the board, I do see that Mr. Antonelli has his hand up, and I had spoken with a Cheryl Tano, I apologize if I mispronounce your name, who was on this call. She had submitted a letter to the chair, and she also is present to speak today on this matter.
Thank you. Is Ms. Tano available?
I'm here, yes. And would it be possible to stop sharing Beth McDougall's screen so that I could see everybody? Thank you very much. Are you ready for me to speak?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. So this project is an ambitious project, and we are the closest of butters. And we have been in this home, my family, 3 generations at least, for almost 100 years. The 3 apartments in our building at 110, 112 Nichols Street, 3-family home. All 3 apartments are currently rented, have been for a few years with the same tenants, all families with children and parents. And we find this project dangerous, not family friendly at all, destructive of green space, unnecessary, and very short-sighted. One of our main concerns, of course, is safety and liability. This project would create dangerous situations both during and post-construction. Major construction of the type of structure proposed here, 3 stories with 4 units and parking, would require significant demolition, excavation, and construction. And given the plot plan provided, the limited size and shape of the free space of land available to the developers, it would be impossible for construction vehicles involved to operate or maneuver legally and safely on the 106 Nichols property alone. Thus, the presence and movement of general construction vehicles and workmen would have to trespass upon our property during the construction, limiting ours and the tenants' access to the property, their parking, violating our rights as landowners, creating safety issues for our tenants, 4 of whom are under age 14, and establishing an unacceptable liability issue for our family, and in all likelihood causing significant damage, excuse me, to our property. Post-construction, the major question that we have is how would emergency services and fireworks quickly access this parking area in case of fire or another emergency? The project is a substantial safety hazard for our property and, most importantly, our tenants. And what about snow and ice? Where would they go? Presently, there's no room as it is for snow removal without using our property because 106 Nichols has nowhere to put it. That's because they currently use typically 8 different cars for parking vehicles in that driveway and in the land where they're proposing the structure. So that's 8 cars now for 3 units. And if you've ever driven down Nichols Street, you know how horrendous parking on the street is and on the perpendicular streets to Nichols. You cannot park most of the time. So how they think they're going to add 4 more units and have enough parking is beyond me when 3 units use 8 parking spaces now. We don't want any further burdens because there are going to be additional units. Let's see, there's no consideration either for guest parking day or night, and everyone knows people have guests. We see these problems firsthand. This is not an abstract idea that I'm making up. One brother lives in Everett, very close to 110, 112 Nichols, where we grew up, and the 3 of the rest of us siblings live no more than 3 or 4 miles away. We go by regularly. We care about the property. We care about our tenants. This is home. Everett is our community. We are not by any means absentee landlords. We also find it very interesting that we were never contacted about this project because contrary to what Beth McDougall seems to understand, there is an easement and it is a share right-of-way driveway, and it's been in place for many decades. And in a few minutes, I will have my attorney screen share his paperwork, his documents of the easement. Our grandparents agreed to the easement in around 1940 because 106 Nichols had no driveway at all. The land that they owned was too narrow to fit cars, especially the width of cars back then. So my grandfather kindly consented to give up some of his land so that it could be combined with 106 Nichols, and the right-of-way driveway commenced back then. And it has been in use all this time. The way that the drawing looks, and perhaps I misunderstood it, and if I did, I apologize, but the plans seem to suggest that it's a 2-way driveway. Well, it's only 1 way at a time. It's a very narrow, single-lane driveway. So we have 3 families. Right now, they have 3 cars, I believe. Excuse me. The current 3 units next doors. And mind you, that 3-unit house was a 2-family house when it was first built. It was in the 80s that the current owner had it changed into a 3-family house, which is the maximum for that type of zoning. Anyway, my point is that when the easement first came about, it was for 5 families to use the driveway. And already 1 person cannot walk up that driveway if there's a car coming in or out. There's simply no room. So what this means is that were this project to go through, then there would be 10 units, 7 plus 3, and the cars and the traffic that go with it in and out. And what that means is that it wouldn't just be a matter of perhaps 1 car waiting on Nichols Street to turn in the driveway while somebody else is leaving. It could be 2 or 3 or 4 or more cars. And then there are going to be traffic backups because there's just no room on Nichols Street, there aren't a lot of alternatives. I don't think there was anything else that I wanted to say. So if it's okay,
This is John Tano, Cheryl's brother, and one of the co-owners of the property. My father left to us when he passed a few years ago. Two things I'd like to point out. One, the statement the architect made that this is not a shared driveway is false. It is a shared driveway. If you, our attorney has a layout from when from the 40s where the property was shows, and you can look at the current site. They show an easement of 9.58 feet. Our document shows that, but it shows our lot also with the easement for the neighbors of a little under 2.5 feet. That is the amount of property that easement runs from 3/4 way down the proposed addition to the street. That 2.5 feet is our land. The 9.5 feet of the driveway, that's 106. The other 2.5 feet are 110, 112 Nickel Street. There is no driveway on the other side of the building. There has not been since the 30s. Secondly, one of the things that the plot plan does not show is that there is a pre-existing garage. It was in the photos that the architect showed in the very back to the right. That again, that structure's been there since the 1980s. I think it's been the 1930s. I know it was built by my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and that would be abutting right against the lane that they intend to use to access the parking in the back. Between snow issues and fire emergency, you could have a car fire back there. I think that's very unsafe, and it also puts our structure at risk. I just wanted to note that because it's not shown in the plot plan. Also, the easement does not extend up to the area where those garages are currently, where they want to demo their other garage. So they have no easement onto our property up there.
thank you very much, John. I'm sorry I forgot to introduce those facts. Attorney Sami, are you ready to show your documents and share your screen?
And I just want to thank the board for their time. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Zahir Sami. I represent John Tano and Cheryl Tano, trustees of the James J. Tano Trust. They're the owners of the neighboring property. That's the property at 110, 112 Nickel Street. I just want to show you a plan that is on record at the Registry of Deeds. It's been there for many decades, and I'll share my screen so you can to sort of illustrate some of the points that John and Cheryl told you tonight. Give me just one moment here. Can you see a plan on your screen?
Yep.
Is that visible to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this you'll see, this is a plan dated October 31, 1940. It shows two lots. Lot 1 is the lot of 106, 108 Nickel Street, and Mr. and Ms. Tano's lot is the other lot, which is lot 2 shown on this plan. What happened is prior to 1940, there was no driveway on lot 1. It had no driveway whatsoever. Lot 2 did have a driveway. And as my clients told you, this property has been in their family for almost 100 years. The driveway originally on lot 2 was actually on this side of the lot. In order to provide the owner of lot 1 with a driveway, the owners at the time, which was my client's grandfather and the predecessor and titer of lot 1, entered into an easement agreement. And the they plotted out a right of way shown on this plan. And the right of way is shown here. Both parties, lot 1 and lot 2, have reciprocal easements over that right of way. And that's where the shared driveway is currently located. So this has been on record for decades, and I don't need to repeat all the concerns that John and Cheryl, discussed at length. But there is, I'll just point out that given the shared driveway, there is a very real concern that the driveway and the easements that both lots have on it, which was originally designed for a maximum of 5 units, would be overburdened, seriously overburdened by now making that right of way, that shared driveway, serve 10 units. So there would be, I believe, 3 on lot 2, and then 7 units total on lot 1 if the owner of lot 1 proceeded with his plan. That's really all I have to show the board. Let me remove my sharing here. And if you have any questions, you can actually direct them to Cheryl Tano, and if she wants me to follow up, I'm happy to.
Thank you.
I have just one quick question to Cheryl Tano. Did your tenants use that right away to go around the back of your property?
Oh, yes, they park in the back of the house, absolutely. And
Okay, I thought so. I was by there
yes,
today looking at it.
regularly, almost everyone uses the back door for a typical entrance and exit, but especially since the cars are there, and we still have a lot of admiration for green space, and we have a beautiful backyard, and the tenants with their children use that yard. So they use the driveway to go in and out by car. They use the back door. They use the backyard, and we are very concerned about what could become a war zone of construction back there, given the limited space that's there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask quickly, can we get a copy of that plan emailed to Matt for the record, please?
Absolutely. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Certainly, I'll email it to you, Matt. I don't have your email, but
I'll drop it in the chat.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
I have Matt's email address actually on the notice. Greg Antonelli, do you have a question for one of us, or is it for somebody else?
You're on mute. You're on mute, Greg. You're on mute.
No, I don't have a question for either of the parties. As members of the board know, Mr. Chairman, Matt, I did have some community meetings on Nickel Street when I was going through permitting process for my project. So I did happen to get to know some of the neighbors. I try to fly in the neighborhood, leave my name, my email, try to do my due diligence when I come up to the ZBA or the planning board to get to know my neighbors' concerns, questions, or comments, to try to make sure they're comfortable with what I'm trying to propose. I always try to take numerous factors into consideration when I propose a new project. People's private and common space, the height of the building, the shadowing, the shading of the trees, all sorts of items. I did get some phone calls from 2 of the neighbors this week, earlier last week, and this week, meaning Saturday and Sunday, about this project. I hadn't even seen the site plan. All I knew was that a project was going to be trying to be converted from a 3 to a 7 family. Not a new structure, but a conversion. I love density more than anybody. Everybody knows that. I love units. I love good projects. I'm a proponent of everything, all sorts of that stuff. But this particular project, after seeing the site plan, I do have quite a bit of reservations. The first one being the turning radius in the driveway. 12 feet is not an acceptable turning radius. It's not even in the building code. The minimum turning radius on the driveway for a garage door is 18 feet. 12 feet would be a 6-point turn at best to trying to get into a garage door. You could put your arms out, that's almost 3 feet. Imagine trying to park a car within 10 feet. Again, the massing of the building. I don't want to sit here and start shoot holes through anyone's project. My biggest questions and concerns are if somebody really wants to build a brand new 7-unit, knock down the house and build a brand new 7-unit, the city will get brand new plumbing, electrical, life safety, fire sprinkler, landscaping, siding, and windows. This city is being pounded with traffic and crowding, and I know people will say I'm the cause of it or I'm partial to blame, but I'm really not, because every time I come before any of the boards, planning or zoning, I knock down a building and I start from scratch. And we all know starting from scratch costs a lot of money. So therefore you need a little bit more units. But in the last 5 years, every single project I've come before this board, I haven't tried to put up 10 stories. I haven't tried to come in with 0.2 parking spots. I haven't tried to not have a fire engine be able to fit somewhere. This isn't about me or them. This is in general. This is a very large project for a very small site. 7 units is very dense for this particular lot. And again, if the applicant really wants a 7-unit, go for 8, knock it down. I'm sure you can come up with a site plan that will fit 8 units. Especially now with a shared driveway, that would never work for construction. I mean, I've never done this before, even talked against the project, but something needs to change. Everyone comes before all these boards and says, let me make a 2 to a 3, make a 1 to a 4, 2 to a 6, knock the building down, start from scratch, just like everyone else has been doing. It costs more money, and that's why people don't do it. This is the easier, less expensive way to do it. That's the only comment I have. Thank you.
Well, my answer to that would simply be to knock that house down would be a crime. I'm constantly, as Mr. Antonelli knows, I'm against tear downs 100%. And to tear that house down would be a mortal sin. So I hope the applicant doesn't go that route. Thank you.
Can I make a comment? With regards to the shared driveway, we'll have our attorney look at it also and do some research and see what we come up with. We'll look at it from all sides and we'll come back. What?
Fine.
Chairman, you're muted.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, you're not muted on Zoom, but for whatever reason, I cannot hear you. Now you are muted on Zoom. You're still muted. You're definitely, you have to hit unmute. All right, so now you're unmuted, but I cannot hear you. Mr. Chair, if you would like to exit the meeting and re-enter, that sometimes works.
Hit the volume button.
Matt?
Yes.
And we have the building management company online too, if they could say something.
Sure. Why don't we just wait for the chair to return?
Okay.
That way he can recognize the building company.
Sure.
Will be one moment.
I got a question, if I could, if you don't mind. The design that you had on the building there. When going up the driveway.
Can we just wait for the chairman to come back?
Oh, okay. All right.
I just don't want him to miss and then.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay.
Thank you.
Here he comes. Mr. Chair?
You hear me?
Yes.
You do?
No,
Good.
no.
Mr. Latanzi, do you have that letter from Ms. Tano?
Somewhere. Let me dig it up.
You
I'd
all
like to enter that
copy
into
too.
the record, please.
You all have a copy too.
Yes.
I do. Would you like me to read it?
I don't have it scanned, so yes, please.
All right. This letter dated May 3, 2021. Frederick Cafasso, Chairman, City of Everett Planning Board, 484 Broadway, Everett, Massachusetts, 02149. Dear Mr. Cafasso, last Thursday in the mail, I received notice regarding a project that Jiang Wei, owner of the house at 106 Nichols Street, would like to undertake. I hope to be able to make it to the meeting on May 10th, but in the event that there are technical glitches preventing that, please consider this letter as a stating for the record that as an owner of 112 Nichols Street, which is not only in a budding property, but more importantly, it is the one who shares the right-of-way driveway with 106. We are unequivocally against the project to build an additional 4 units on the property. Sincerely, Cheryl Tano, 532021. I'd like to enter that into the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And also, Mr. Chair, applicant's designer, Beth McDougall, asked if the, and I'm kind of blanking right now, but the management company for the house, if they could please speak. So I would defer to you, Mr. Chair, if you would like to recognize them.
And that is who, please?
Good evening, Mr. My name is Nadia DiCarlo and this is Florinda DiCarlo. And we are the property managers for Mr. Wei. And we are part of the team with Beth McDougall, just helping them out and understanding the site because we're always there trying to keep it organized. As you know, and you've seen in pictures and by driving by, we keep it meticulously landscaped, maintained. There's not a piece of trash on the site. We do the snow removal. We have all the adequate equipment to get and do the snow removal. So that is not a problem. I think this, when Mr. Wei came to us, I thought this was a very thoughtful design because he didn't max out this, the site. We didn't go, well, not we, I mean, he didn't go like traditional developers and ask for 10 to get 8. He thoughtfully said what would work in this neighborhood. He put what he thought would fit. It was also thoughtfully designed because if you were to drive by the street, you cannot see the development. So it's not visible from the street. You'll see there's not one masked object. It's like notched back. There was thought, and I don't know if Cheryl Tano saw the landscape plan by the landscape architects that were Hammer and Walsh. We have beautiful cherry trees, red bud trees. We have trees, evergreens along the side. And we have window boxes, so it adds a lot more green space than maybe you had seen before. It adds safety. It has passed a fire inspection. There is sprinkler on site. There is thoughtful, more additional safety with fencing, decorative, and that fits the style of the home. So you could see that there's a lot of, this is not an absentee landlord. We are there pretty often, and it shows in how the streetscape shows. So we are here to ameliorate the plan and to help add housing stock to Everett. Everett has a housing plan. And yes, I'm sure we all wish, like Mr. Wei, to be an institutional investor and put in 530 units and offer 1,000 parkings, but we can't. And Mr. Wei is putting a majority of his money behind this. And so when someone has skin in the game and is not just playing with institutional money, and there's no names here, it's just that he's an individual person and he's not an institutional investor. He obviously is careful about where he's spending his money and going as far as his pocket can allow. And so, of course, we did all the proper planning. We advised on working with Beth and the legal team to kind of go forward with this. So that's what I wanted to say, basically, to, adding to the housing stock, thinking about the parking, reallocating the parking. I know that Beth had worked with the department on that and had changed it. We thought about the siding. We're not using a traditional hardy board. We're using this WeChat material that Beth looked into. So the color is uniform. So I don't think that this is a harmful project. This is something I think that will further ameliorate and add seamlessly to the housing stock, because if you were to drive by, you would not see anything else there. So those are just our remarks. Feel free to.
Yes,
Oh, excuse me,
may
Cheryl.
I speak again? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so with all due respect to the beauty and aesthetics of window boxes, I certainly don't consider them to add in green space. But I see the point you're trying to make. Regarding housing space, Everett has built a couple of thousand units recently with many more on the horizon. So whether or not this project, which would definitely benefit Mr. Way, I think the city of Everett will survive okay without turning that 3-unit building into 7. And the issue is not ameliorating the look. The issue is safety. As Mr. Antonelli wisely also recognized, this lot is too small for the work that that you guys are proposing to do on it. And finally, I beg to differ with your comment about snow removal. Maybe you're not aware of this, but what you have just said about your management company removing snow is somewhat false, unless you were hiring one of your tenants, because one of your tenants actually approached me to ask for permission to dump snow from the property at 106 Nichols in front of our garage temporarily, if we could do without using it for a few months, because he had no place else to put it. And this is a nice person. We like this tenant a lot. And he said, can you possibly help me out? I don't know what to do with the snow. So this is with 3 families, 7 families, 7 units. And let's face facts here, 2 bedrooms, that could easily be a couple and a teenage kid, 3 cars. You might add, I don't even know, another 12 cars to the present 8. It's a disaster, and window boxes are not going to solve that problem. Thank you.
And this is John Tano, Cheryl's brother. I'd also like to comment, follow-up comment. The woman before mentioned, and I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, mentioned Mr. Way's investment. In the last 5 years, we, since my father's passing, we've invested significantly in the property. We modernized it. We provided these people with multiple parking space per apartment, lawn, a green space for the kids to play in, AC, every room, building rewired, every room modernized.
So you ameliorated the property. That's wonderful, John. We did that.
So yeah, so I just want the board to know that we've been there for 90+ years, and our family has invested greatly in our property to get to, it's asking our family's legacy to continue on. And,
Thank you, Mr. Tano.
okay, again,
Thank you.
so I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This is new for me.
I just want to clarify some points.
If I may,
Wait.
before, I would just ask, although this is a public hearing and this is, a discussion for everyone, it's not an open discussion. The chair has to recognize the speaker. If you would like to speak, you can ask permission from the chair, and if the chair recognizes you, you then may speak.
Chairman, may I add a clarification point?
You may speak. Yes, please.
Thank you, Chairman. It's more than window boxes. Well, not ours, our clients did a development, had a landscape plan by Hammer and Walsh, And it has, like I said, evergreen trees, flowering trees, spring trees, winter trees. It's not just window boxes. So they had added stuff below and above. So that was thoughtful. It wasn't just on the surface. And, Everett is a fabric of a woven quilt. And, when there's going to be a housing plan put out and everyone's working towards that, I don't think all the allocation goes to the bulge bracket firms. I think it goes to everyone that can contribute in any way, shape, and form. Again, I don't understand the safety points because there's fencing, it passed the fire and the police inspections past it. And of course, when there's any kind of construction, there's obviously going to be construction vehicles, people coming in and fixing stuff, but any kind of construction needs construction vehicles or construction there on site to beautify a property. As regards to the snow,
the snow, it's be the two-car garage that be knocked down, and the end of the two-car garage that be the extended driveway, which anybody can push the snow or pile it up on the back of the existing driveway, which now between the two property, no either one property, they can move without the other one, because I'm very familiar for the last 4 years on the property. So I don't think it's an issue for the snow removal.
Thank you.
For the record, sir, would you like to identify yourself?
Lorenzo Di Carlo.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I make a suggestion?
Who is-
This is Beth McDougall.
Okay, yes, thank you.
I'd like to make a suggestion. I mean, we can go back and forth all evening and we're not going to get anywhere. Could we please defer to our next meeting, and we will go back and the check on the issues with regards to right-of-ways and shared driveways. We'll come back and we'll answer Ms. Tano and Mr. Tano's questions, because they have some, valid concerns and we'd like to address them. And come back for the meeting for next month, submitting more documentation.
You may do so.
Thank you.
Is the board in agreement? Well, then the chair will entertain a motion for continuance.
And I would just like to clarify before that motion, Ms. McDougall, you said next month. We have a meeting, May 24th is our next meeting. The one after that would be June 14th. So I don't know if you meant for the June 14th one, which would be next month, or if you meant for the next meeting, which would be May 24th.
May 24th. I didn't realize you had one in 2 weeks. If that's okay, otherwise we can go to June, but whatever works for you.
Everything works for me.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion for continuance to
Motion for continuance for 106 Nickel Street until May 24th via Zoom, 7 o'clock.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded for continuance for 106 Nickel Street to May 24th via Zoom at 7 p.m. Roll call vote, please.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Diane Rangel,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
and Sherman Cafaso.
Yes. Motion is continued. Thank you very much for all your input.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gennaro, anything to say? It's close enough. Next order, please.
Next order of business, Mr. Chair, is item number 4 under new business. This is a site plan review for 14 Harding Avenue, which is a proposal for the construction of a 3-story, 4-unit condominium on vacant land at the corner of Harding Avenue and Elm Street. The parcel of land located at 14 Harding Avenue is referenced by Assessors Department as N0-04-000016.
Is the proponent here, please? Unmute yourself. Hello, Paul.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Attorney Paul Delory representing the applicant, who is Marcio and Theus Tolomelli. They are joining us on Zoom, as well as a her uncle, Mr. DeMarais, who's one of the builders, and I'm also joined on Zoom by Ron Bork, who's the architect of this project. The applicant proposes to erect a 3-story, 4-unit residential condominium on the property at the corner of Harding Avenue and Elm Street. This will be a 4-unit building, 37.5 feet high. It'll have 3 2-bedroom units and 1 1-bedroom unit. This matter has been before the ZBA. In fact, it started in January of 20 before the pandemic hit and has got stretched out this period of time. But the ZBA has approved and granted zoning relief and actually granted a 6-month extension to the applicant because of all the delays caused by the pandemic. So it is now approved by zoning and we're before you tonight for site plan review. First, I'd just like to show you a shot of the lot if I can. Why don't you go to Google Earth? So here's the location of the site at the corner of Harding and Elm Street. This is a unimproved site with a lot of really old vegetation. It's overgrown. In fact, I drove by it today and see some of these trees are actually hanging out onto Elm Street. It's a difficult lot to develop. It's a lot where it drops almost 10 feet from the back of the lot to Elm Street as it drops down towards Elm Street. If you look at the house right behind the lot with the red roof, that is also owned by my clients, the applicants, the Tolomellis. That's a 2-family house. This lot, the site, is 4,073 square feet. If you go to the existing view. If you go to the next view, you're going to see this is an existing view. You're looking down Harding Avenue here, and you can see these overgrown trees. It's really difficult to even see that there's a lot there, frankly. And then you'll see on the right another view coming up a little bit further down Elm Street. If we go to the site plan, I just want to point this out. This is a little bit difficult to see. It's a little small.
I don't know if this is true for everybody. Can anyone else not hear Attorney Delory?
I can't.
I can't.
I can hear him.
No.
No, I can't hear him either.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yep.
Wait a minute. Hold on one second. What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
I apologize. I'll be happy to go over what I just said again. I thought I'm unmuted. I don't know why I'm not coming through. Sorry. This is the actual site plan that's before you tonight for approval, and I want to point out some of the features on this site plan. So you see the lot as it sits on this parcel. The interesting thing and the important thing is that there is compliant parking, which I know is a rare thing when things are being proposed in the city. There are 4 spaces on the inside in the garage, which is entered from Elm Street, and there are 4 exterior parking spaces, including 1 handicap parking space. The building has landscaping, as you see, that are all around the perimeter. In the back, on the left side, there's a snow removal area to the side of the building. And then just below that, for water management, there's a drainage system that runs all along the side of the building. What is important to understand is that there is a van handicap accessible, and that 1-bedroom unit is entered right from ground level in the back. So that would be the handicap unit. There's no stairs, there's no ramps. It's simply a flat level entrance from the parking area to the back. The lighting on the building will be uplit with sconce lighting. And as I said,
I think we lost him.
Yeah, we lost him again.
Attorney
ZBA.
Delory?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For whatever reason, you were cut out once again. You are now, I can hear you now.
Can
It's
you hear me
frozen now.
Hold on one second. It should be fine. I don't know why. Yeah, we're just checking Wi-Fi. Can you hear me? Can people hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. I'm not sure why that's happening, but, and as I had said, the lighting will be all sconce lighting on the building itself. From a design standpoint, because this is on one of the main thoroughfares, Elm Street, if you begin to look at the renderings, which I want to go to now, go to the elevations on page 1, Andrew, would you? Here's a picture of the way this building, it's a photometric picture of the way the building will look on there, on the street. Special attention has been made to the fact that it's under the building standards on Elm Street. There's 27% of the building, of the building is faced with brick, and above will be a composite with AZAC trim, all composite boards. The thing you should note about the building is that there was a lot of care in the design, in the sense that all of the houses beyond this house, as you move towards Everett High School on that side of Elm Street, are a very similar setup. And that is that they have garages at ground level and they have multi-family units above. And you see that very graphically in the house next door. There's two garages below in the multifamily housing. But if you took the long view of that and went all the way down towards Everett High School across from the skating rink, you'd see that all of the houses are set up that way. If you look at the building in the front, let me go to the other elevations, please. Thank you. Keep going. So here's some of the elevations now that you can see. This is the front elevation on the building, and you look and you'll see that there's the garage door entering from Elm Street. The front door is one of the
Lost him again.
We lost you, Paul.
Clapboard. I know there's been some interest to have it be shingle, and if that's the desire of the board, my client will accommodate that. Let's go to the next
We
one.
couldn't hear what you had said previous to that, Paul. I'm sorry.
I'm really sorry this is happening. What I said, Leo, was that if you look at the front of the building, there's your garage entrance on the left side, and the front door is on the right side. Above that, the only unit that has a balcony is this first floor balcony that's here. What you're seeing in the lower level of the light colored area, that's going to be all brick, and then up above will be composite AZAC trim. Now, I've said that this shows clapboard. I know there's been a preference in the past for shingles. If that's the desire of the board, we can rearrange that and do shingles up there as well.
Yeah. We just want to get away from that flat look. Just some kind of relief, like you say, shakes are a good idea, whatever, but something with some relief to the board. Okay. You could give us a sample on those. That'd be great.
All right, let's go to the next picture. This says rear elevation, but it's not. This is the view from Harding Street. You see that small one-story porch there. That's the rear entrance. That's one of the rear entrances to the building. There's also an entrance in the exact back of the building. Go to the next one, if you can. This is the left elevation looking from, say, Everett High School, going down Elm Street towards Revere. And again, you'll see the side of the side of the porch and the panel. Go to the next one. Yeah, keep going on that. Okay, this is the way the building, again, it's a photometric building of the way the building will look when it's built in conjunction with the other buildings. And I stated there was a lot of effort to make this conform. In fact, when we went to the Zoning Board of Appeals, we tried to limit as best we could any relief that we want, and we were able to do that fairly successfully. And this is the rear view of this building, and you'll see the rear entrance. You can go to the next slide. This is a little bit more of a graphic picture of the front of the building, and you'll see the brick up above and the composite board up above with the AZAC trim and the garage door. This is the rear of the building, and again, there's a one-story flat entrance through the parking lot right into that rear door. And again, that would be the handicapped unit. Go to the next one. This is again the view coming from down Elm Street towards Revere on the side. You'll see the parking in back and the building with the brick on the side. Just go to the next one. And this is the other view. Again, the idea was that we wanted to take the brick front and wrap it around at least to the side where you see it here. These again are two views of the front and the side on the, let's call it the rear side of the building. You see the landscaping that's there.
Stay with that one a second, Paul.
Yep.
The drawing on your left, right where your cursor was right there, the A-frame, see you have a nice overhang there.
Yes.
Now, if you go to the one on your right, you don't have as much of an overhang. That makes it very, very predominant when you have a 1.5 foot overhang. You don't have that in that one part. It'd be great if you could make sure they have a good overhang all around the building. Just like the fronts have, that little A-frame with it right there, right above that brick up top. It shows that it's only like almost flat. You got to have at least 1 foot up there, 1.5 foot, just like the rest of your overhangs. Just point that out to your architect. All these gables, the dormers, they should all have a good protrusion that come out like that A-frame does.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Leo. Again, my Wi-Fi is cutting out again. I know you were saying something about I heard the end comment about the protrusion. So what, you're saying you have some kind of a profile coming out on those?
Yes,
peaks?
yes, and all you have it on your large A-frame. You don't have it on your small A-frames. It just almost sits flat.
Well,
So you got to copy that, mimic that, because that accentuates the way the house looks in the neighborhood. Because I was down there, and a lot of them all have a nice overhang, and they look. It's a small detail, but it really enhances the house.
Mr. Pisano, this is Ron Burke. I agree with you completely, and there actually is an overhang on those. Maybe the model doesn't show it correctly, or the shadows, but the depth of the overhang in the front is also should be the depth. It's a little less than the dormers on the roof dormers.
Yeah.
Just from a proportion standpoint, but I agree with you as far as getting that shadow line and getting that deep overhang.
Okay, thank you.
So there is an overhang, Leo. You want more of an overhang? That's I guess that's the question.
It is. You have to have, like Ron says, if the front is 18 inches, those other ones should be at least 12.
Right.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Go to the next one, please. And again, this is more photometric views. These are the views of the back, two different views of the back, one from an angle and then one directly back, as far as that goes. As I said, that a lot of the thought was to try and make this design to look, even though it's a brand new house, like the other houses, particularly on that side of the street where that style of the garage going in. Go to the last one. If you would. That was it? Okay. So those are all the renderings. And again, if there's any, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry for the technical glitch on the Wi-Fi. I had no problem listening to the rest of the hearing, but for some reason it keeps going in and out. I'll be happy to take any questions from the members of the board.
Any variances required?
Yeah, there were two variances that were granted back, believe it or not, in January of 2020. It seems like years and years ago, but yes, right before everything shut down, the variances were granted.
What were they?
One was for FAR.
Okay.
And one was for the fact that this is a dwelling district and for.
Out again.
You're out again, Paul. Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Anybody out there can hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Any questions?
We will be getting a copy of all the remarks from the different departments, correct, Matt?
Yep, the only remark that I have thus far is, again, from the chief of police, just saying he has no issue with it. I'll reach out to them once again. Typically, I take silence as agreement with the project, but I will reach out again, hopefully get it. I much prefer it, someone saying I agree than just taking silence as that.
Right, exactly. Particularly the back of the building where it drops off, as far as any runoffs are concerned, even though he owns the house in the back, he can't be shedding water down there. So.
He's actually, Leo, the house in back is actually higher than
Higher.
than this house, yes. Yeah, it goes up another foot or two in the elevation.
Okay. No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Sure, but what are they gonna be
Just a
using?
question.
Trash receptacles? I mean, this is a 4-unit, right? 4 units, you said?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Where are they gonna be? Are they gonna be having a 4 unit? You're talking, the receptacle. Where are they gonna be? Are they gonna be out in the open? They're gonna be. Just curious. You having that many units,
Yeah, they'll be on the side. They'll be where that snow removal area is where they had planned to put them.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
How are the parking spots going to be divided up? It's 4 units, 8 spots?
Yes, correct.
How are they going to be divided up?
2 per unit.
Okay, because I see one of your units is 660 square feet. So I'm kind of wondering, you might have room to come down. I can't conceive of a 660 square foot unit. You would need any more than 1 space.
Yeah.
It might be able to add green space to this project, or maybe a place to put the receptacles.
Yeah, the only problem with that, Mr. Tar, is if we do that, then we'd have to go back in front of ZBA for a variance, which we tried to avoid the first time. When we worked the project, we really wanted to have compliant parking. I think it's a great idea. I mean, the green space is always nice, but I wouldn't be able to go forward without further relief on it.
I understand. In my view, I think that's a variance worth pursuing, but do as you will.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you have to remember, Mr. Tar, is that this was granted on January 21st of 2020. And because of all the delays called by the pandemic, I went in front of the board in December of 2020, and the statute allows you to get 1 6-month extension, which the board granted to me. That expires on July 21st of 2021. So we're really under some time constraints. And what would happen would be if we weren't able to make a substantial start at that point, we'd have to sort of start all over again. So that's one of the, that's one of the things that, we're sort of up against that.
Thank you. Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Any other questions? Robin?
No, I don't have any at this time. I know Matt's waiting for department comments, and I don't know if there's any other public comment, but.
Anybody out there in Zoom land that has any questions or comments?
None that I see, Mr. Chair.
Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion probably for continuance.
Yes, absolutely. We'll make a motion for continuance on 14 Harding Ave until May 24th at 7 o'clock on Zoom.
Second motion.
Motion made and seconded to continue 14 Harding Avenue.
Can I just, Mr. Chairman, that's fine. Can I just inquire, just of you and the board? I believe Mr. Pisano wants samples of the composite that'll be used. I think you want to see a little bit more depth on the eave, on the plan. Is there anything else? Because as I say, we try to get everything into you so that we can hopefully complete on the 24th.
That's all I have, Mr. Delory, other than the comments from the departments.
Okay.
Is that workable, Mr. Delory?
Yes.
All right, then, continuing with the motion made and seconded to continue 14 Harding Avenue until May 24th, 2021 at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Roll call vote.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangle,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes, motion is granted for continuance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman. Thank you.
Next order of business.
Next order of business and last order of business is item number 5 under new business. This is a site plan review for 217 Beecham Street. This is a proposal for the redevelopment of an existing partially paved commercial vehicle and storage and trailer storage yard to create a revitalized commercial vehicle storage lot, which will include a new paved lot with 2 defined driveways, fencing, lighting, and stormwater improvements. The site, which is approximately 1.427 acres of land, is referenced by Assessor's Department as H0-15-00003.
Thank you. Is the proponent here?
Yes, this is Mark Wickstead from Bowler, representing DIV BMT LLC, the owners of the property. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen. So just to get you located, this is Beecham Street. Can everybody see my screen? I'm sorry.
No, sir. Now we can.
Try again. I'm sorry. This is Beecham Street. The lot in question is this lot. It's shown with all the tractor trailers and construction materials. As was said, it's about a 1.4 acre lot, and it's currently partially paved. The owner of the property would like to refurbish the lot, basically clean it up, pave it, add lighting and fencing. And the use would be a commercial use for some sort of commercial vehicles. He does not have a tenant in mind yet exactly, but that it would be a commercial lot with parking for some type of commercial vehicles. I'm going to switch to the plans now that you should have all received. So this is the site plan. So this is showing the pavement areas. I would like to point out that the back portion of the lot, about a half an acre, is an existing paved area that is in a hazardous materials or under that pavement, and we do not plan on touching that. That's considered a cap under the environmental. It's been done on the property thus far. So the plan would be to pave over the entire lot and leave this in place, and add stormwater improvements. As it stands today, the lot's a mixture of pavement and gravel, all kinds of materials out there. We would be proposing on this lot in the darker gray area a pervious or porous pavement section, which is very beneficial to stormwater. We can treat a lot of the stormwater that way, where water runs through the pavement, and then as a backup, we'd still have catch basins, piping, and manhole that would tie into the street system. But the first few inches of rainfall would be absorbed by the pavement right there, be infiltrated, and would remove a lot of the sediment and also meet the phosphorus requirements for the area. In addition to the site plans, we prepared a drainage memo documenting all of the calculations I just described. And we also prepared a traffic study. And for the study, we assumed what we considered probably the highest traffic generator, which would be delivery vans. And that would be somewhere around 95 delivery vans and 40 passenger cars for the lot. And that was kind of what we considered the maximum traffic that we would have on the site, and that report is included in your package. Other than that, we were filing for site plan review because of the creation of 8 parking spaces. As you can see, the lot was already a parking lot, but we're basically just improving it and making it, a more defined and better parking lot, meeting the, mainly the stormwater improvements, stormwater requirements of the city. So that's basically my presentation.
Thank you. So we don't have a tenant as of yet. Is that my understanding?
That's correct.
So you're doing this work with the intention that a commercial trucking company may need this?
Correct. The owner is, does have some different tenants that they're speaking to, but, as of the time of filing, we don't really have a striping plan that we were sure of. So we just wanted to basically move forward with construction and pavement of the site so that it could be marketed more effectively. It's not a great looking site right now. So it's probably not the easiest thing to get people excited to lease. So they just wanted to move forward with, the bulk of the improvements. I think the only thing not shown on the plans that's submitted is striping, which would be, would be customized to the tenant that takes the lot. If a large construction company were to take it, there'd probably be less striping. If they were parking large equipment, probably be no striping. As I said, delivery vans, if that were the intended use, then we'd probably have a more regimented striping plan, but that's something we're still working on and hoping to get a tenant.
Thank you.
The whole lot's gonna be completely asphalt, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I read the narrative and the idea of the vans coming in and the personnel bringing their own cars. That's great because the hours you show that they'll be coming in are off hours and that works well. But the only question I would have would be that my opinion that I'd like to have you if everything got approved, that you came back when you get a tenant so that we know what your tenant is. I mean, you could be putting like the chairman said, you could have a trucking company coming in there that's going to go in and out all day with tractor trailer trucks, and those hours you spoke of just don't work. So, to give you the fairness, to give you a fair shot and say, okay, but just let us know what's going to happen down the road. We don't want later on that you have an empty lot and you put just anything in there, such as I say, tractor trailer trucks that are going in and out all day. That's all.
Okay, that's fair. We again, for the traffic case, we did try and pick what we thought was the most intensive number of vehicles. But I see your point that large trucks.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers you gave us, like,
right.
you don't have any traffic at peak hours, according to the narrative, and that's your best scenario for your benefit. For the city's benefit, we'd really like to see what reality comes down to when you have a tenant. That's all.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I've got a comment to Matt. Do we have anything from department, any comments from the stormwater management or anything?
Now, this is gonna sound like a broken record. I've received just a comment from Chief of Police saying he has no issue with it. I'm again gonna reach out to all the departments tomorrow to remind them. This was actually one project though that I know Jay Monty has set eyes on, and he thinks it's a good idea. So
It is a good idea, but like Mr. O'Connor says, it's up to departments to give their okay, and that's what we base our decision on.
Yep.
So when we get those, we can make our decision.
I think maybe when you send emails to these departments to kind of stress that you want an answer back in the affirmative or negative instead of guessing.
that's
It's not, I know it's
that's exactly what I did this time, and
okay.
one whole email, so.
I know it's not you, Matt.
Oh, it can be me. It's usually me. This time it wasn't me.
All right. Are we looking for continuance?
I'd make a motion for continuance for 217 Beecham Street until May 24th, 7 o'clock via Zoom.
Second motion.
A motion has been made and seconded for continuance for 217 Beecham Street until May 24, 2021 at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Roll call vote.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangel,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes, motion has been granted for continuance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Night, Steve.
Thank you.
You get around there, Steve.
I wanted to be on the first and last agenda item, so thanks, Matt.
You're
That was
doing
good.
well.
Steve, next time you got to give me an email and tell me what projects you're on, because it seems like
No.
you're on all of them.
I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Good man. Thank you, Steve.
Have a good night.
You too.
Hearing none, is Chair will entertain a motion for,
No, nothing. Motion to adjourn then.
Second motion.
motion made and seconded to adjourn. Roll call vote, please.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangle,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
and Chairman Kafasi.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. See you on the
Thank you all.
24th.
See you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Take care all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Hi, Joe.